Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media on all of our channels and networks. I'm Mike Morales here in San Gabriel Valley of Southern California. That gentleman out there is
Rick Levy, also in Southern California.
He's a lot further south, maybe about 3 hours from here. And the area 51 of Tequila. Folks, I'm beside myself, literally, for getting a hold of these folks. This is Tequila Atanasio. This is the Reposado. If you watched our Blanco edition, we flipped over the quality of that Blanco. Very, very old school. As you can see, I've had a little bit of this. I actually had to open it yesterday, do some demoing on online, and but I did not reveal to Rick what my findings were. As you can see, it is verified, additive-free.
And for those of you listening on the podcast, Mike's drained about half the bottle.
Yeah, so, yeah. So you know, and that's usually a good sign. If Mike's bottle is half gone, yeah. But you know, is it half full or half empty? It's half gone. But anyway. This is a screw top. Some of these you'll see at the stores will say this is a screw top, so don't pull it off. If you're familiar with this line, you know that they're usually corks, but supply chain, folks, there's a problem in the supply chain, and I got no problem with the screw top. I prefer them, actually.
Yeah.
Somebody, you know, it's interesting because there's a lot of tequilas like Carrera, which is really old school from another branch of the Camarena family. Theirs is a beautiful bottle with a screw top, and it's like, you know, it's got that old Herradura kind of feel. The Herradura used to have a screw top for forever, you know. And the other one that used to come like that was Revolucion had a screw top before they rebranded again. You know, they've rebranded like twice, 3 times, but the screw top is kind of neat. I enjoy those. I'm okay with that. I'm going to pour mine in a Stasel Jarrito that I normally use for mezcal.
I've got the Stasel Jarrito for tequila.
Yep. I did not dissect this yesterday, so I'm not. In fact, when I normally demo, I'm either using a glassware show, or if I'm tasting it, you know, just to enjoy. It's usually in a snifter. Every once in a while, I have something in a jarrito if I'm trying to pick something out that I'm not familiar with. This is a really light reposado too.
Yeah, it's like a light straw color.
And you know, they are. I read some of their information offline, and they are agave growers. They are listed and based in tequila, which explains the familiarity with the malolactic that we got in the Blanco, and what I sensed in Fortaleza, because they're from the same neighborhood.
Right.
We call them lowlands, even though there are no designations for highlands and lowlands, or El Valle de Tequila, for that matter.
Nice legs.
Yeah, this is again going to be a real old school tequila. I can attest to it. So basically, they're just rounding out the edges, because they are agave growers. They do grow their own. Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah. And what did they say on this? Was it 3 months in American oak?
Let's find out, shall we?
Yeah. 3 months in American oak.
Okay. And I do have.
So, you know, it's just barely a reposado.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet that they do the same thing that Felipe Camarena does. They probably look for some really distressed barrels, you know. So the wood, whatever the wood imparts is minimal, because they want their agave to shine and their fermentation process to really come forth. And it is.
Yeah.
Now, are you getting any wood notes though? I'm still very heavy on the malolactic that we talked about in the Blanco. That's that butteriness. But
I'm picking up a little bit of cinnamon.
I think it's heightened. I think the butteriness, for some reason, the wood, a combination of the two, it just heightened it.
Yeah, I think the butter is more pronounced in this one.
Yeah.
I'm still getting the apple. It still almost smells like a Blanco.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that, folks. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so if they're just rounding off the edges, like
Yeah.
I wonder what's getting rounded off, because I kind of like those edges.
Well, me too. I really do enjoy this kind of character, this kind of flavor profile. And
It still smells very bright and green.
oh man, that is just, it brings me back to those old school tequilas, that a lot of us enjoy, or have enjoyed in the past. And there are so few of them now. Some distillers and some mainstream brands don't smell like this, because it's just not the average tequila drinker. The mainstream tequila drinker just doesn't know where to place this. They don't have a bar for it. Whereas, guys like you and me and people in our circle, they actually do. And some prefer it and some don't. Again, this is a lowlands tequila in tequila itself. They grow agave around their distillery. They're very small. By the way, we checked online. They make Cascanes is made there as well. So it's maybe 4 or 5 brands come out of there. That's it. Oh, there's a wood note, but it's at the bottom. It's finally opening up for me. And it's a hint of wood. And the alcohol is very minimal. It's just necessary, just the necessary alcohol. It's not off-putting or anything like that. Wow. You want to dive in and see what we're getting on the mouthfeel?
I sure do.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's check this out. Ooh.
Mm. 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 Oh, wow. Mm.
Yeah, well, the wood is definitely warming it up a bit.
Yeah.
From the Blanco.
And I felt it more on like my mid palate, the sides of my tongue. I got more wood notes.
Right.
Like a real weak whiskey notes or whatever, but you're right. I think that the pepper that we got in the Blanco with the wood now became like a little bit more of a hot cinnamon. Not too hot, not like a red hot or anything like that. Just more cinnamony than pepper. Same character. Buttery, going down long.
And I wouldn't say it's rounding the edges off the Blanco, though. I would say it's just warming the Blanco up a little. It's adding some warmer undertones.
Okay, so it's actually adding that layer of complexity, that extra layer on top of what's already there, because the nose is very reminiscent of the Blanco.
It is.
But like I said, when it started opening up for me, and then down at the bottom of the glass, I was getting a little bit of just very light wood notes. You really have to search for them. So that's why I'm saying, not only is it only 3 months, right? Three months is what they were resting it.
Right.
I'm willing to bet that they're old barrels, just stressed, similar to how Felipe Camarena looks for these beat up old barrels,
right.
And that is a sure sign of a great agave grower who is very proud of his plants, and they want the wood to present the qualities of the Blanco and the plant. I get that. I love that intention. That's the intent of this tequila and this family. La Familia Landeros.
Yeah, just letting the natural fruit shine.
Wow, that's beautiful. And then again, it's bringing back memories. And I told Rick when we talked about the Blanco, that it reminded me a little bit about how the first batch of Fortaleza tasted to me. And, in that time, for those of you who've been to Tequila Fortaleza now, that cava had no lights in it. Okay, we have flashlights, we had candles, they have bats, and we didn't know what was in there. It was really, it's a cave, it's dark. Now he's got lighting, he's got a bar, and I go, geez, man, I remember when it was dark, it was like you were going into the belly, it was cold. It's cold in there. And so we had no sight. In other words, I couldn't look at it, and see legs and tears. And we didn't have this kind of glassware. I mean, he had shot glasses that were branded shot glasses. That's all we had. And so that was that one element that was missing for me. But the nose was very familiar. What we had was taste and smell, which is kind of an odd tequila tasting, but it worked because Fortaleza.
And something we forgot to mention in the Blanco review as well is that there is a quality. It has some minerality to it, and they're in the Tequila Valley. They're probably using a deep well that is getting some minerality from the water off the volcano.
Yeah, and we forgot to actually mention that because the nose was so prominent for me and brought back so many old memories of really good tequilas that you don't find anymore. Even some of the old school ones that we've had, like Cocorol, didn't have this nose. Cocorol went the other direction with more anise. There was anise on that. Plus, I think they had a Taona. I think they actually used Taona. But this one's spectacular. Oh my God, this is just the butteriness, the malolactic, and we use the aroma wheel that you can get for from our tequila tasting courses that we have. That particular butteriness comes from the slow fermentation. So butter, and if you over yeast, I know if you get yeast, sometimes it's because they throw the accelerant, in the fermentation.
Yeah,
that's allowed. Some people
trying to ferment too fast.
Well, yeah, but then the other some people, like there are some master distillers that prefer champagne yeast, like they do with Siembra Azul. Nom 1414 is known for that and using the Mozart method. So it's not done it's done for flavor. It's not done for to expedite the fermentation process and kickstart it. But this is not yeasty, it's buttery. This is definitely a butter malolactic kind of flavor and aroma that just is really primary. Fantastic. I'm just Brenda Promise nominee in the Reposado category. What do we have a price point on this at all?
Yeah. Let me get back to the page here. So at Old Town, they have this for $75.
Oh, wow. Now see, the second pass on the sides of my tongue, I got a little bit of what I would say is anise, but it doesn't evolve because the butteriness takes over, that silkiness. It's very silky on the palate.
And the barrel on the Reposado is really accentuating that too.
Yeah.
It really lifts it up.
Correct. He's about. I never would have put two together. I know it smelled amped up, but I didn't know. It just felt like it was being presented even more, like it was heightened. And you're right. It's the barrel. The barrel's doing that. 75, nice, not bad. I mean, you're paying that much for Cascanes. Cascanes comes out of that distillery as well. There's only maybe like 4 brands, okay, and 3 of them belong to the family. So I would say all day long, man. And it's really the kind of tequila. It's not for your mainstream people. It's not. I wouldn't even make. Would you make a cocktail with this thing?
What would I do with it? It's a fantastic sipper, and at this price point, It's not necessarily economical for mixing,
Right.
but it just has great character. I'm sure there's interesting things you could do in a drink with this. But
Yeah,
no
I
need
don't
to.
know
You
if I,
sip it.
if I had the luxury of making a cocktail with this kind of tequila, I probably still wouldn't do it. I mean, you and I have been around for a lot. We've been around this block several times, and
Yeah.
you've amplified your collection, and so you've had this wide palette of old school stuff that you can't find anymore. He's got some stuff that I can't find anymore that I just, I used to buy for $20 in Albuquerque, and now you can't find them. Because that's just it. Remember we talked about this when we did Baston del Rey. You don't hoard anything because you think it's always going to be like this. And if hanging around over
I'm a hoarder.
years,
I'm a hoarder.
yeah, but and now that I've hung around for over 20 some odd years, I realize that I should have hung on to some of that stuff because I never thought in my life that things would change so drastically. In the style of tequilas that people are drinking now, that the younger generations are getting exposed.
Yeah.
And
It's really been changing and evolving.
Yeah, but see, this is what it's meant to be. You know what I mean?
It takes you back.
Yeah, it takes you back. This is like a throwback tequila, literally. We used to say that all the time. It was a throwback tequila. Mm. Oh my God, fantastic.
Oh, I'm getting just the slightest hint of butterscotch now.
Yeah, it's the more you sip on it, and this is the same, we haven't reloaded, I haven't, and it's as you go down and you take another sip, it continues to evolve. And that's the beauty of tequila tasting. If you do it correctly and you got the right glassware, is you don't need a whole lot to appreciate and to be grateful for what we're tasting. I mean, I'm grateful to this family for sending this to us. And Rick, it was funny because Rick sent me a text message prior to getting this tequila. And he goes, I really miss getting those flavor profiles that you and I used to do a while back. And I go, oh, okay. So when the family reached out to us, I said, I know exactly whose name I'm going to put on this, because part of my job, since we have like 13 tasters now, throughout the US and one in the UK, I've got to do a lot of matchmaking, because some of us have more experience on one side than the other. For instance, like with Alex, he was the first one to say, I want more raicillas. So he and I do all the raicillas together. And the newer TJs are just now getting their feet wet with mezcals. So I'm throwing them curveballs, like my job is to throw them a curveball. But then, guys like Rick, I already know where his palate leans toward because we've done a lot of these together and with the other TJs too. So when he asked for this, I said, okay, he's got it. And so, and here we are. Yeah. We're having a great time.
It's a great gang, though. Everybody brings, interesting perspectives to it.
Oh yeah, like Jim. Well, you're going to meet Jim from Ohio. Ohio's a big bourbon area. And he's got a heavy bourbon. And then Eric Zandona, I throw him the kitchen sink. That's what I do. I throw him everything that's weird and has no denomination of origin, all that stuff, because I know he's got a much wider palate than me. Because I'm so focused on a lot of stuff like this. But I've also been very fortunate to get stuff like from Australia, New Zealand, Germany, and so it's been fun. It's been a great ride. And every so often you come across a gem like this. You know what? For that price point, all day long. It's just one of those.
Yeah. If you're missing those profiles, you'll find it here, and so grab it because it's hard to find these profiles.
Yes, it is very hard. So that's our take on Atanasio Reposado. Stick with us. We're going to come back with the añejo, and I haven't touched the añejo, I promise. But that's our take on Atanasio Reposado. If you are watching us on YouTube, leave us a comment. Tell us what you're paying for it. What if you're actually making a cocktail with it? Where you found it, because it is available in Old Town Tequila. I believe they are now available in Texas. If I'm not mistaken, I think Bryce, one of our TJs, who actually is a tequila, Austin tequila connoisseurs, I believe he has done a review on this, and a couple of others on Instagram. Tell us what you're doing with it. You know, subscribe, give us a like, because that helps with the algorithm, because, you know, life is about the algorithm. And subscribe so that way you stay up to date. Now we're not waiting at all. We used to wait, you know, every month and then stream everything. Now they're going straight into production. And within a couple of days, you're going to be seeing this video on YouTube. So they're fresh, like a nice fresh corn tortilla. Handmade, folks. This is a craft. This is a craft organization, okay? I'm Mike Morales here in Southern California. That gentleman out there is
Rick Levy, also in Southern California.
You have been watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media on all of our channels and networks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for subscribing. And whatever you do, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely.